Hello and welcome to Booktubeathon 2017, Day 2. This is the third time that I have tried to film this video because the first time I realised that something was in the way of the shot, and the second time my cat jumped on top of the chair that I'm currently using as a stand, and then the memory card ran out. So it's been a bit of a mess, but I was determined to get the video in by midnight tonight because technically I could do it tomorrow morning and it'd still be in the 24 hours. I have work tomorrow morning, so I would not be able to do that. But anyway, let's get on with the challenge. The challenge for today is called the Say My Name Challenge, which is where you get your favourite book and you have to make the title of that book out of the first letter of other books that you have. There was a more difficult version of this challenge, which is where you actually spell out all the letters that make up the name of your favourite book, but the space I'm working with doesn't really let me do that, so I decided that I would just stick with the simpler challenge. So the favourite book that I chose is Killing Aurora by Helen Barnes. This book was given to me by a family friend who studied it in high school when it first came out, around the mid to late 90s I think, and she thought I would love it, and boy do I. This book is set in Melbourne and it was written by an Australian woman writer, which I just love, and I've read it maybe 5 times, and I even used it for a creative writing exercise in high school where I had to rewrite the start of a book, which was super fun. I might put that on my blog one day if I can find it. But anyway, it's about a girl who develops anorexia and her friend who is obsessed with fire. I can't remember what that's called. Pyromaniac, but is also kind of obsessed with like chemistry and science experiments in that kind of way. Anyway, it's just really, really interesting. It's not really like anything I've read before. The only thing that I guess it's kind of similar to is Winter Girls, maybe? Just because that's the only other book that I know that includes 2 best friends and anorexia, although in this not both of them have anorexia. But anyway, this is my favourite book, so now I'm going to spell out the name of the book Killing Aurora with the first letter of books that I already have. So for the first one, K, I chose Katie's Dream by Adrian Peniston Bird. For the I was really hard. For I have Judy Blume's It's Not the End of the World. For the first L, I have Lady Chatterley's Lover by D.H. Lawrence. For the second L, I have Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. As I said, I was really hard to find and I almost gave up and used It's Not the End of the World again, but I did manage to find Infinity by Sarah Destin, which I'm using as my second I. For N, I have NW, or Northwest, I guess, by Zadie Smith. I think the cover of this is great. It's not mine technically, I took it off my mum's shelf, but I couldn't really find one that started with N. I'm sure I have one. That doesn't seem like it's uncommon, but I saw this when I was looking for one on her shelf that started with I, and I decided to grab it because I like the cover. And finally, for G, I chose Goodbye Stranger by Rebecca Steed. I have not read all of them, but I definitely want to. Maybe by the end of the year I'll make that my challenge, to read all the books that are in this challenge that I haven't actually read yet. Now moving on to Aurora. For the A, I chose All the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven. For the U, again, U was really hard and I almost gave up and just didn't use one for U, or looked up a book that I didn't have that started with U. But I got Untwine by Edward Danticat. I'm sorry if I said that wrong. I haven't read this book either, but I love the cover and I love that it's hardback. I don't have many hardback books, but I will definitely be getting onto this by the end of the year because I've been meaning to read it for ages. For the R, I have the classic Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare. This isn't a beautiful copy, but it's the copy that I got given when I studied it in school because it's really easy for young people who aren't really familiar with Shakespeare, because it's got all these questions and kind of translations, I guess, of Shakespearean English down the bottom. So that was a really good way to get into Shakespeare, especially for people who hadn't read Shakespeare before, which luckily I had, so it wasn't as difficult. For the O, I have Only Ever Yours by Louise O'Neill. I love this book. I want to read the other book that she's written, asking for it, because I have All the Rage and a lot of people compare them, so I want to read them side by side and see what I think. But anyway, Only Ever Yours. For the second R, was, again, harder than I thought it was going to be. But then I remembered that I have Rupture by Susan Varga, which is actually on my reading list for Booktubeathon 2017, but I haven't gotten to it yet because it's only day 2. But I will be getting onto this, maybe tomorrow even, and that's my second R. Finally, for the final A, I have Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. I love this book so much. I would also like people to tell me in the comments, please, 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 is this getting a second book? Does it already have a second book? When's the second book coming out? I heard it did, but I'm a little confused about what is happening with that. So yeah, that's my final one for this challenge, but if someone can tell me that in the comments, I would really appreciate it. Anyway, that was the day 2 challenge, Say My Name. I really thought that was fun. It was a little bit tricky to find books for some of those letters, and I definitely got more acquainted with my bookshelf, especially, I'm sure I will, having to put them all back. But anyway, that was my challenge for today. I very much enjoyed it. Thank you very much, and happy reading.